using watercolors? May I see? I took 2 watercolor classes, and when the next one comes up, I'm going to take that one too, but I want you to know I'm terrible. I don't have it within me. I've got other things I can write, but I can't.
Are you enjoying yourself?
Every moment. That's why I keep going back again and again. It is so much fun. It's not fine art, it's fun art. That's the way it is with me. Fun art.
Well, happy Thursday. How are you? Today, me and my painting buddy Christine, we are at Fossil Creek Park as opposed to Fossil Creek Natural Area. And this is just a nearby little park. It's really windy out today and it keeps coming in gusts. So we're just gonna look around for something fun to paint. There's a lot of birds here. We've got pelicans and ducks and geese. We're gonna go look around, meander like we do, and see if there's anything fun we can do some watercolor with. So come on, let's take a look. Here comes the wind, but I just love the way the water is sparkling with the sun hitting it. So pretty. So it's 51 degrees Fahrenheit, but it feels a lot colder because those mountains, the wind's blowing ice and snow off of them, and it's a little chilly. Brr. And it's so windy that no umbrellas are going to be possible. So we're going to go to this park shelter over here and hope for the best. So I think this is what we're gonna do because it's near the shelter and we've got it's backlit because the sun is getting up there, and we've got the water sparkles, we've got some trees. We're gonna do it really simple because we're both freezing our tushes off. So on second thought, we were just getting blasted by this really cold wind coming from the east, which is totally not typical for us. So we're on the other side of the public facilities, and we're just going to do something really simple. We're going to do the foothills and a tree here, and keep a little warmer. So let's do this. Yeah, look at this. Christine put in her brand new sketch journal. It's so pretty. It's a Hahnemühle, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So nice, and she's got fish in her backyard. So
a pond in my backyard with fish.
Yeah, they just float around. So we got our drawing in there, just really basic, simple lines. My paints have dried pretty good in the pan here overnight. I didn't add water to it till just now. So mix up some blues. I got my cobalt blue, my ultramarine blue, touch of horizon blue. Just mix up a good pool of that. And then I'll mix some shadow colors. Use a bit of Payne's gray that I mixed. I call it Laura's gray, but it's basically like a Payne's gray. And a bit of the blue here. A bit of light red or English red. Ooh, a little bit more blue. I always like to get a pool of this stuff together so I don't have to remix it. So you can see those clouds are kind of boring out there. So I'm going to try to jazz it up just a little. Just go like this. We're going to show that wind coming off the mountains. All nice and cold. Let that soak into the paper a bit because it is super dry here. We don't live in England or Vancouver where it's all nice and misty and mystical. It's harsh and dry. We're in a semi-arid desert, believe it or not. I'm gonna hold this up a little bit. Uh-oh. Do you need some bug spray?
No. They're just itty bitty. I don't know what they are.
No CMs. Because you don't see them, so they're no CMs. Okay, and then we'll go into our shadow color. Scrub this shadow color in, but leave this little bit at the tip there for highlighting it. Soften that up. Oops. A little bit more blue at the top there. So this is what happens when you let your paints dry. They don't have as much pigment punch. Oops. Trying to give it that stormy May feeling. And I do not go with any preconceived notions with these, because if I do, I'll get all upset when it doesn't turn out the way I want. You kind of have to just let it do its own thing. See a lot of people doing watercolor clouds where they're trying to force it, and I would rather have them look a little wonky than overworked. So let's see.
Talking about me over there.
No. So do that. And done. It's already drying. See, that's that's how dry it is here. Should I put one little bit more of just a little bit more definition in that one area of the cloud. Going to go into stage 2, which is doing the mountains while this is still damp, so it'll bleed just a little bit, and then the foreground, and then we're going to do those trees right there, but quickly because it's freezing. You know it's cold when the mosquitoes are moving really slow. Ah, this is funny. So I've got this other color here. This is Daniel Smith's Titanium Gray, which is a bit of an opaque color, but I find that opaque colors can work really good for things in the distance, like mountains. I'm gonna put in a bit of raw sienna as well. Let's see how that goes. And then on top of that, get some greens ready to go on top of that. Got some sap green and some perylene green. Mix those in with the blue that I used for the sky. Alright, now we're ready to tackle those mountains.
Bug got my nose.
I'm going real careful over this mountain here because this is a very famous landmark mountain here, Horsetooth Mountain, and people will recognize it. Okay. And see, I was hoping this would blur a little bit, but it is so dry today because of the wind. But that's just not going to happen, I don't think. Okay. And then we've got some, not sap green, but serpentine genuine, because I just like that springy green color. I'll mix a little bit of that in there with the green in the distance, but keep it gray because it's in the distance. He has a lot to say, that little bird. Little barn swallow. So now that this has been here for a little bit, I'm going to take my smaller brush that carries less pigment. If you can see that, but I'm just going to mix it in with a bit of that gray. I'm going to try to softly add in that. Let's see if we can do that. Oh yeah, there's a lot of mosquitoes. I'm thinking the wind, they must be smart. They're like us. They're staying out of the wind.
Yeah, exactly, because we're in over here. They're like, oh, hey.
Free lunch. Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. Where'd they all come from?
I don't know, but all of a sudden they're here, aren't
Christine. Well, maybe they're not mosquitoes. Maybe they're midges. Because remember, those usually come out first.
they? Yeah.
I'm hoping they're midges because I'm not feeling any bites.
Yeah, they're just little and they're annoying.
Yeah, I think they're midges. They look like mosquitoes, though. I keep telling myself this so I don't go shrieking and running off.
I got one just hanging out on my picture here. He's just gonna, this is where he lives now.
Now I want to get too dark with these values, because in reality this is quite dark in the distance, but I don't want to make it that dark. Oops, as my zipper goes into my paint. There's some noisy grackles. Not going to get too special with these behind the tree. We're just going to scratch, scratch, scratch. Freezing. See how drying already. Okay. Some little suggestions of that. See, it's already super dry on this side. So, I know. Uh-oh. No growling. Yeah, I think these are midges.
What?
I think these are midges, but boy, they're obnoxious. Trees kind of grow in little rows together. Okay, so we are at the midway point here, and I'm putting this in the sun to dry, if it will. It's really cold. I know it's hard to believe, but we are both freezing here pretty badly. But I've got my clouds and my mountains in. As you can see, those guys there, trying to just get an approximation of it. And now we're going to tackle the foreground and Mr. Tree. We have the tree color here, which is this Payne's grayish with some browns mixed in, and some super spring green, which is, I'm using serpentine green, and I'm toning that down with just a little bit of raw sienna. So what I'll do is I'll get my little Asian brush and kind of dry it out a little bit. Make sure it's wet first so it will absorb, but then dry it and go fan him out a little bit. And I'm actually altering the structure of the tree just a little because it's a little too uniform, which is funny. But it looks fine if you take a photo. But when you make a painting of something, sometimes it's good to have a little bit of variation, even if it's not there, to make it believable. And I used to put the trunks in first, and then I realized it's sometimes easier if you put in the leaves or buds first. Just depends on the tree, actually. See, it's all dry brush. I'm using the roughness of the paper to my advantage. This is another reason why I love using these inexpensive ink brushes, because you can beat them up, and once they wear out, it's no big deal because they're super cheap compared to, say, a sable. Okay. Now I'm going to go in and do my tree. This is my favorite part, the whole thing. So this is still a little damp. That's okay. We'll start at the bottom like a tree would grow. he's got more than one trunk. See how I break it up so I can add in a little bit more greenery if I need to. That splits up right here. And once again, I'm not going to keep exactly to the tree in front of me, because if I did that, I would go crazy because there's so much detail. It's like... And what's also interesting is a lot of tree branches, if not all, have this neat habit where they go up and then they go sideways and then they go down as they go further down the trunk. And of course some of them are coming towards us instead of, they're not all sideways. And let's do another one this way. Because I'm just doing a very abbreviated version of one of these trees. I'm not doing the whole thing because I'm freezing. And this will be good enough. Okay. Now what I might do is put in like a little scruffy little thing here, like a... Let's pretend it's a little baby tree bush thing that's kind of growing up next to the big one. Maybe later on, if I take this in the studio, I might put in a few more finer branches, but right now we're just getting the basics done. And then I'm going to put in those background trees real quick. I'm going to take that other green that I already mixed, and I'm going to dull it down a bit with a bit of, oh, I don't know, some titanium buff. And because there's a little bit of atmosphere between us and there. And we'll just dry brush that in once again with our friend the ink brush, Asian ink brush. Very spring-like painting. Yeah, I should have waited to put this little branch in last. Oh well. Wasn't thinking, because I'm freezing. I don't think very well when I'm cold. You can tell my nose is running, it's so cold. And yeah, just a little more, oh, I don't know, a little bit of perylene green just to add some variety here in the distance, like little. It's nice to do this while it's still kind of wet. See how it just blurs out. Almost blurred out too much. When it's cooler, it definitely takes longer to dry.
Yeah.
I always forget that. Spring is so hard. Spring is so hard. Because it tricks your brain. You're like, it's summer, and you think things are going to dry quicker than they do. And then sometimes they do because we have a lot of wind in the spring. Just can't win. go. Put some pine trees in that distance. Now, just going to be a lollapalooza of greens. We're going to put in another green. And this one, once again, we're going to use some raw sienna mixed this time with, let's see, another pre-done green. Green Appetite. Yeah, that'd be a good one. I know you're supposed to learn to mix your greens from blues and yellows, but when you're in the field, it's sometimes good to have convenience greens because you can just whip them up and go. And there's going to be reeds in front of this, so we're going to try to do a bit of negative painting. See how transparent that is? Wow, that's very transparent. See how I can abuse that brush. Okay, so we're taking it into the sun to dry one more time. And like I said, I've left some negative painting for the grass. And I'm going to go back in probably later on and adjust this. And yeah, we'll do the foreground and we can go get some coffee. Use this beigey mix of titanium buff, a little bit of raw sienna. What we'll do is, after we put this layer down, I'll go back in and put another layer. But I think we're going to do that in the studio. I like leaving a few white flecks here and there. So now I have to make a decision because in the distance, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little path going along there. And do I want to show that there was a path or do I want to leave it all natural? I think I might put in a path, but not a concrete path. Let's try that. So what I'll do is get my little wedgie brush here. And actually, you know what? I'm just going to put in grass. I'm freezing. I don't have time for this. So now I've got a kind of a nice natural green, and we're just going to those blackbirds are just having the time of their lives. See how easy it is to make grass with this.